great. Another dead.
Hello, everybody.
Hey guys. So you're probably like, why are they playing Borderlands 2? It's 2013.
13.
Well, so this is our best of 2013
2003.
2003 series. No, this is our best of 2013. So we thought we would kind of celebrate by playing our game of the year of last year, which was Borderlands 2, obviously. So
It's just me right now.
okay, yeah, of course.
Got something for you.
So we created some new characters.
Yes, I am the Mechromancer, and that's Matt there.
And I'm the tattooed chick.
Yes, she is awesome.
Mini map.
Anyway, so, best of 2013. Let's go.
Okay, so hold on.
Why do you get a... Oh, I got a gun too.
I got two guns.
One for each of you.
Okay, I do have two guns. Huh.
So I stopped thinking out loud.
Punch. All right, so yeah, we can jump into it. So we'll go ahead and we're gonna link in this video best of last year as well.
Yeah.
So if you kind of want to know what the setup was, what we mentioned of last year, it was all Borderlands basically.
There was a lot of Borderlands.
So we'll start out with best shooter.
Yes.
Is our first category.
Yeah, so let's go through the nominations. We've got, first up, Metro Last Light. So, Metro Last Light was pretty good, guys. It was a post-apocalyptic shooter.
Yeah.
A very good one at that. Where
And the fact that it had like literature, like a novel.
yeah, it's based off a
tied
novel.
with it.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
It was a sequel to Metro 2033. It's everything takes place basically underground, and if you ever go above ground, you need gas masks, and you have to manage that resource. And it's a very atmospheric and almost horrific shooter.
yeah.
It's very good though. I loved how the shooting worked. It was a marked improvement over 2033.
Creatures around here are dangerous.
The stealth mechanics worked, the shooting worked. Everything was just better.
Anywho,
So that's why I thought it deserved a nomination.
but in here.
So next is also Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. So this kind of started out, when this was first released, it seemed like one of the developers took the engine that Far Cry was built with and drank a couple alcoholic beverages and decided to fiddle around with it, and almost it looked like it resulted in Blood Dragon.
Yeah,
It's such a, it's like that game is the 80s, if that makes sense.
yeah. You've got a gun straight from RoboCop. You have Michael Biehn is the voice actor who was from Aliens.
Know that hero is you.
My goodness, everything about it was awesome.
Yeah, the music was a mixture of Terminator meets
Every 80s film we've ever seen.
every 80s action film ever.
Yeah, fighting giant Tyrannosaurus Rexes, robotic Tyrannosaurus Rexes.
What was the guy's name? Colt McCoy or something like that?
Rex Power Colt.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a cyborg commando.
Naturally.
And it was based on like you said, the Far Cry 3 engine, so it...
Same island.
Yeah, basically.
You could still fight sharks.
Yeah, robotic sharks.
Onward, seeing eye. Let me know if I'm gonna run into
But it took the
anything.
already established great gameplay of Far Cry 3 and just slapped a new skin on it, and it was amazing. We loved every second of it.
Oh yeah, it was. It's one of those games that the entire time you're playing it, you're just smiling.
Yes.
And then you kind of catch yourself smiling. You're like, "What was this?" Oh.
Oh, because I'm playing this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So up next, we've got Payday 2.
Glacier and into the city.
So this game, this was like one of those. So they didn't announce it at the beginning of 2013, like most games kind of get announced at the beginning of 2013. There was speculation at best, but that was it. And then it came out, and I never played the first one really more than 10-20 minutes, but it was incredible. I don't know why, but the one thing I always want to do is rob banks in games. And
Yeah.
in this game, that's all you did was rob banks. I mean, the skill trees were just incredible and involved, and just, I mean, it made it to where you could be a powerhouse and walk into the room and everyone just screams at the side of you because you're that BA. Or you can, you know, stealth the whole mission. I mean, it was great. And it was one of those games where, you know, we've both played like the CODs and the Battlefields.
Sure.
And the community 9 times out of 10 is just terrible.
But yeah, pretty bad.
And by community, I mean the other people playing.
Yeah.
But this game, I mean, the community was fantastic. You
Right.
know, I got it very late after after it was released, and you know, you're walking around with, or you go into these lobbies with people who are, you know, 30 levels higher.
Right.
And you're a level 1, and you're like, what do I do?
Uh-huh.
And you know, in most games, unfortunately, they would tell you they would either boot you or, you know, ignore you completely.
Right.
But I
Call
mean,
you a noob.
yeah, I can't count how many times someone would help me along and say, "Oh, you should do this and this and this, and this would probably be a good idea." And
Yeah.
it's like that's amazing. Like,
Still there?
just nothing you would have expected out of a community of players.
Right.
Get me out of here. But please.
So lastly, is BioShock Infinite.
BioShock Infinite. We both really enjoyed this one.
Oh yeah.
The story was top notch. Just the cleverness of it.
Yeah. The twist,
Yes.
obviously.
Obviously, and we don't mean to be spoilerish by saying there's a twist in the game, but it's a BioShock game. You
Right.
know there's going to be
Absolutely.
something.
Yeah.
You can go all the way back to System Shock, which had a big twist to it.
Yep.
You know there's going to be one, but this one was pretty surprising all the same.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um,
I mean, it had pretty decent characters in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the first time to actually feature a talking protagonist in the game.
Yeah.
Which was definitely a surprise, but just a top-notch game. It's one of those, like, if you've never played it, like, you need to go get it immediately. But just such a good game.
Yeah.
Such a good game.
You guys would be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't at least try it.
Did you get
Play
that
through
guy?
it once. What's that?
Coming out of the
Where'd that guy go? Oh, there he is.
Yeah. And he said sphincters. Anyway, so those are our nominations. There's 4 of them: Metro Last Light, Far Cry 3, Payday 2, and BioShock Infinite. So, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, so our winner for Best Shooter is Metro Last Light. So, kind of explain a little bit more, Donovan, why this game is just the best shooter
Of this year. It, like you said, kind of with Payday, it allowed you to do whatever you wanted. You could stealth a mission, you could go in guns blazing, but you never wanted to do that.
find someone to put it back in.
With the addition of scarce ammo, you had to be good. It taught you to shoot tactically and. Oh, what's going on?
I hit select.
Oh, okay. But it taught you how to shoot tactically, think tactically in every situation when you're surrounded by bad guys, enemies. But if you went through it stealthily, then you had to, learn the enemy movements and figure out their patterns and stuff. Okay, Premier Club, good. I love these tokens. Reload speed every time. Anyway.
I'll find out where the hell.
Let me get that for you.
But also it had a great story. A story that I enjoyed anyways. Now the beginning of this story does kind of undermine the ending of the last one.
Right.
Because there are three endings to 2033, but there can only be one beginning to Last Light, so they had to choose one of the endings.
Right.
That irked some people, but I found it to be fine.
This way!
It's... Oh, shotgun?
You can have it.
Cool. Okay.
Know when you're ready to go meet with Sir Hammerlock, minion.
But yes, just the freeform nature of the game, and also the darkness and the...
Arriba, arriba!
everything's out to kill you,
Yeah.
and you never felt safe. Even the atmosphere in the world wanted to kill you, and that was great to me. So, next up, we've got Best Action Adventure Game.
So the first one is GTA 5, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Mm-hmm. So why are we picking this one? It's a $1 billion game.
It's a $1 billion game,
Yeah,
absolutely.
It sold. It made $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's nuts, and it's a very good game as well. Not just apart from the sales, it's a very good game. It's probably the best Grand Theft Auto game to come out. One of the most cohesive ones. The story was fun. The world was awesome and huge and just mind-boggling.
Yeah, and it's one of those games that it's like 3 obviously was the most innovative probably in the
Sure.
entire series because
Sure.
it took a top-down shooter and turned it into a third person. Beast of a game.
Yeah.
But it seemed like the rest of, to me personally, and you might disagree with this, but it seemed like the rest of the games before 5 were playing catch-up. We're trying to, kind of top what 3 did.
Okay.
Whereas it seemed like 5 took what 3 did, 10 years before, and made it even better.
Okay.
Expanded on the world.
Yeah.
Gave you more than one character to play at a time.
Yeah,
And more than one story to play.
They implemented that perfectly as well. The zooming out and going above the world and then zooming back in on the different character. It was great having
Yes.
3 protagonists in an open world.
What's going on?
Just trying to get over this door. So, yeah, what else to say about Grand Theft Auto 5? It was a really fun game. The soundtrack was great.
So good that they got sued over it.
Yeah. Yeah. Another time. So, The Last of Us is next. So, this is one that you and I enjoyed quite a bit, Matt.
Yeah. So I would say that my favorite developer
Naughty Dog.
is Naughty Dog.
Naughty Dog.
I mean, I don't think there's a better franchise out there than Uncharted.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
It's the only franchise that I've always given like a perfect rating for every game.
Sure.
And they've earned it every single time. And
Right.
It's not been because it's Uncharted. It's because it's an amazing game. You could have called it, Nathan Drake's Awakening or something and not even put the Uncharted title on it, and it would still be, a perfect game.
Right.
And they did almost, there were a couple parts in Last of Us where you're like, but they did practically the same thing with a completely different set of characters.
Right.
Completely different, game.
Right.
Entirely. Just
It took the zombie genre that we've seen a million times before and just improved upon it, made it so different that it felt fresh.
yeah, it wasn't cookie cutter. It wasn't
No,
horde mode again. You
Yeah.
know, it seems like most games nowadays, when you think of zombies, it's horde mode.
Yeah.
And this it gave like a different type of fear within
Right.
zombies.
Right.
It wasn't because they were gonna eat your brains necessarily. It was because they were scary.
Yeah, they were legitimately scary. That's a good point that you bring up. I remember a lot of people criticizing the Uncharted series, if you can do that, that Nathan Drake was basically a psychopath because he would kill dozens of dudes and then crack jokes.
Yeah.
And people didn't like that dissonance, but with Joel and The Last of Us, you didn't get any of that. He was a psychopath, he killed people, and it was all in harmony.
I need a revive.
Oh no.
I walked into the gate.
So, yeah, a perfect third-person shooter. It was, again, atmospheric. I like those kind of games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing was cheesy about it. Perfect voice acting, dialogue.
You can always
It was great.
It was fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah. So let's move on, and this one's a little bit different from our normal, from the other two. And we've got Saints Row 4. what can you say about if you've got Grand Theft Auto, which kind of delves into the realism and greediness of open world gangster games? You've got Saints Row, which is just downright goofy and ridiculous all the time, and then Saints Row 4,
they know it.
Yeah, they know it. And then they give you superpowers, and then it gets even crazier from there.
Absolutely.
Being able to fly around the city. Granted, we've seen the city before in Saints Row 3, but this time it's all like neon and computerized, and
it's one of those games where, like, you know, with like we were mentioning with Blood Dragon, they kind of play on all of our movie loves and such.
Yeah.
But like Saints Row 4, it takes like some of the most ridiculous things and like, hey, do you like the Matrix? Cool, because now you're Neo practically.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And you don't have to play a Matrix game to be Neo, which is even better.
Right, and you know, you're a gang boss and you're also the president of the United States of America. Just silly, silly stuff, but it was a lot of fun, a big joy to play. So shall we move on?
Yeah, so the last of this category...
The last of this category. Sorry.
Oh, funnies. Is Dead Space 3.
Dead Space 3.
So kind of explain why this is in here.
Because, Matt, you and I both know that, well, we both hate horror games.
Absolutely.
Anything that is out to scare us, we're not huge fans of. You should watch us play the demo of Dead Space 3. You should watch us play Outlast. We don't like it. But then playing Dead Space 3 all the way through. Dead Space 2 is one of my favorite games. And Dead Space 3 really does something special by taking that claustrophobic horror atmosphere and basically putting you on a planet that seems just as claustrophobic. With the blizzards, and it finally sees the end of Isaac Clarke's story.
Maybe.
I feel like you should put your pinky up to your mouth and do that. $1 million. It had a great co-op mode, which played completely different from Isaac Clarke. I wouldn't say it's my favorite game of the year, but it definitely deserved some praise.
It was scary.
Yeah, and the way to the ability to create your own weapons was quite fantastic. Having a shotgun with a plasma cutter was
right.
great.
Absolutely.
So that kind of freedom, it seems out of place in a Dead Space game, but it worked perfectly.
Well, yeah, they implemented it seamlessly for sure.
And it makes sense because he is an engineer. So why couldn't he build weapons from scratch?
Because he can't.
But he's an engineer.
You want to do these side missions?
Nah. So, let's get to the winner.
Yep, so the winner of this category is... The Last
of Us.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
Duh.
You guys knew. Don't act like you didn't know.
You know. I know.
Yeah.
I work here.
Yeah. Moving on. Best RPG.
So best RPG, the first one. So this is... You guys know this is Donovan's bread and butter more than mine. He lives for these.
Yes.
So,
I like my epic RPGs.
So the first one is Shadowrun Returns.
Yes, and Cyberpunk. You don't see too many Cyberpunk games these days, and I'm glad it's coming back. Shadowrun Returns was a successful Kickstarter, and it was great. It's a strategy RPG. It evokes the classic feeling of playing through the old Shadowrun. It's got a great story. It has room for more campaigns. It asked you to think tactically, and it threw a lot of difficult stuff at you. And I just love the world, the neon world.
So next up,
Yes,
sorry,
next up-
I'm in fight for my life.
No, it's okay. Let me just revive you. Next up, we've got Fire Emblem Awakening, a 3DS game. Don't worry, we've got another one here too. Fire Emblem Awakening. It's also a strategy RPG, maybe more so a turn-based strategy game, but it's an old Japanese one, and it's very good. It's got like hundreds of hours worth of gameplay to it, dozens of special characters. It's got an interesting rock paper scissors type of combat where sword beats lance, lance beats axe, axe beats sword kind of gameplay.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's just very interesting on how they do it, and it's got some humor to it. It never takes itself too over the top seriously, but it's also a story that you want to get invested in, along with the characters, and you want to develop their relationships with one another so that they can fight better together on the field.
Absolutely.
And just seeing your characters go up in rank is also a very satisfying thing to do. So
next one is Ni no Kuni, The Wrath of the White Witch. So I didn't play this, but I watched Donovan play it for probably a couple hours at least, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, Hayao Miyazaki. That's all I have to say, and you guys know exactly. You all can picture what I'm talking about. Maybe it's My Neighbor Totoro, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, anything like that. You guys can think of a Miyazaki film that you love, and this one is basically Ni no Kuni is basically a Miyazaki film in video game form. It looks great. It played great, even though I had a few criticisms of it, or a few negative criticisms of it. It was still, I can only think back on it fondly, and I think that's a sign that I enjoyed it more than I let on. So yeah, I think it was a good JRPG that you just need to play if you're a fan of JRPGs. So
I got you, girl.
thank you. So here's the last one, Pokemon. Matt, you're not a huge Pokemon fan.
I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Imagine playing the same...
I don't gotta catch them all.
But I think that's why. That's what's to get, is catching them all.
Yeah.
The idea of playing through a game and having hundreds of different combinations. Imagine a Borderlands style game, but instead of 4 characters, you have 600 characters. Maybe not all with their various customizations and abilities, but man, it's a very diverse game. And I wouldn't say I got all nostalgic and I got that fuzzy feeling, but it was still a fun playthrough, and one that I would recommend if you're a gamer on the go.
And the fact that, what console is it on?
The 3DS.
The 3DS.
Yes.
I mean,
which the 3D looks fantastic. It's one of the best uses of the 3D functionality, I think, this year. Hands down. Yeah.
even better than Ocarina of Time 3D.
Well, that wasn't made for 3D. Okay.
So the winner of Best RPG of 20. What year is this?
2013.
2012 is Fire Emblem Awakening.
Fire Emblem Awakening, because I want to keep playing it, even though I have played dozens upon dozens of hours, and I am nowhere near finished. There's still so much more to do, but it's still fantastic, and I just want to keep going back to it. So, yes. What's our next one?
Next category is Best Indie Game.
Yeah, indie. This was a huge year for indies.
It really was, and the fact that what I like. Oh, someone's going back. The fact that these new consoles, specifically PS4, is pushing indie games just even more so.
Right.
I think 2014 is going to be huge.
Yeah.
For
Even
indie games.
huger.
Even huger. Even the biggest.
Most biggest.
The most hugest.
Best indie game. Sorry.
So first up is
first up,
Xenoclash 2.
Yes.
So go ahead, Donovan.
All right, it's a first-person beat 'em up.
Your fist.
Let that sink in for a little while. That's not a game you find all that often. It's a sequel to Xenoclash 1, of course, but this one basically reveals what kind of world you live in. I enjoyed sort of the... I enjoyed the story to this one. Even though I may not have enjoyed the ending, I enjoyed the story. The combat also was top-notch. I would say that's the best part of Xenoclash 2. Just the combo system. It felt like a fighting game in first person. You know, putting out combos and things like that. Where are we going?
Follow me.
Okay. It had some of the goofiest weapons you'll ever see. Like, it had grenades, but they were skulls that blew up after a while. And you had a shotgun that looked like it was made of bones and feathers and all manner of tribal things. It was really cool.
Bone skull grenades.
Yep.
Why not?
Yeah.
So next up is the Stanley Parable.
This one will mess with your head.
And I think that's what it's supposed to do.
Yes, the creator of the game wanted to mess with your head because he wanted you to think beyond the confines of a normal gaming narrative, and this one did it in spades. It taught you to poke and prod at the different basically the boundaries of the game to see what you could come up with, to see what you could do, and the game reacted to that.
Right. Or even if you're like, you know what? I kind of don't want to play the game.
Yeah.
That is still an option.
Yeah, and there's an ending for that.
Yeah, and then there's an ending. I mean, how many different endings are there? 10 to 15, something like that?
Yeah, it's quite a... There are quite a few.
It's one of those games where, like, within probably 3 hours, you can play every variation that there is.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, like, it pushes every boundary.
Yes.
And the fact that the demo had nothing to do with the game.
Right.
And yet the demo was almost hailed as like some of the best content of 2013 by itself.
Yeah. But the funny thing about that demo is it had nothing to do with the game, and yet it had everything to do with the game.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't the game. It was the game.
It was the game. It wasn't like here are 3 of the 15 different endings. It was its own thing, and that's what makes it spectacular in my mind.
Yep, absolutely.
So next up we have Sir, You Are Being Hunted.
So we did a little Let's Play of this,
GLN
presents of this, and I mean it was pretty stinking enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's intense for sure.
Yeah.
It's intense without being intense as well.
Right.
It kind of.
It's quirky.
Yeah, it's quirky, but at the same time you're like. You're nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I mean, that part where we thought there was just a normal scarecrow.
Yeah.
And that it had a pumpkin for a head, and then we walk up to it and it starts, like, following us.
Yeah.
We had no idea that was going to happen. And it surprised us every time. And, it's also one of those roguelike, procedurally generated type games that, it's just a lot of fun to play. I still have yet to find a gun in that game. But, that's okay. I am okay with that.
Blood Stallion says hello.
Light the fuses, bitches! I'm ready to blow!
Crap! Badass!
If the difficulty is too high, it's because you dawdled a little too long. if the enemies seem crazy, it's because you're sticking in one place and you're not moving as you should. And you know, it's a roguelike. Every time you die, you just start over again. Things will be okay.
Oh my gosh.
That's alright. I'll just give up here. And again, it's one of those games that I'm still going back to, and I haven't beat it yet, but I put in dozens of hours, and I'm still enjoying every second of it. Yeah, you just keep punching Bume. So, winner of Best Indie.
So the winner of Best Indie, sorry, I love getting second wins, is Risk of Rain.
Yeah.
And I think we can both agree that the reason that it is because of what you just said.
Right.
It's a game that you keep going back to. While the Stanley Parable is if nothing else groundbreaking with what it offers as a game.
Yeah.
Like I said, after 3 hours, you're pretty much done with the game as a whole.
Yeah.
Whereas with Risk of Rain, I mean, the replayability rather, is infinite.
Yeah, infinite, definitely.
I just did something.
And I think that's what makes it so great. Risk of Rain. Go buy it. It's on Steam now. Seriously.
So this category, which is, this is our second year of doing a best of series. Probably because this is our second year in business. So that probably makes sense. But my favorite category has always been best character.
Sure.
It reeks of nostalgia for that year, because when I think of games, 9 times out of 10, the thing that I remember is the characters.
Sure.
No.
And 2013 had some of the better ones as well.
Yeah, in spades.
Last year, of course, our best character went to Handsome Jack.
Handsome Jack of Borderlands 2.
And he was stinking fantastic.
Yeah, he was.
And this year, I mean, it's like they knew that there was a bunch of great characters and that they needed to match it.
Yeah.
And they did, like you said, in spades. So first up is Elizabeth from BioShock Infinite.
Yes. She was a really interesting character in that she was cooped up her whole life, and now she gets out and she's experiencing Columbia for the first time with a man she doesn't even know, who is basically, a murderer and a generally bad dude.
Absolutely.
But he's trying to do something right.
Here, I dropped that for you.
Cool.
Yeah, and she kind of gets paired with the protagonist / antagonist at the same time. It's kind of a weird thing.
Well, a protagonist and hero are often
yeah,
you don't have to be a hero and be a protagonist.
right. And
oh yeah, gotta blow down the gate.
don't worry, I've got it.
Take that, Claptrap. Take this.
And her journey is an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
There is definitely some character development there.
Yeah.
Probably not the strongest character development that I would have liked to see, but still good.
Yeah. Satisfying.
It's definitely satisfying. Some of her moments of, self-sacrifice or,
Yeah.
possible self-sacrifice was perfect.
Yeah.
And definitely memorable for sure.
Definitely. She wasn't just a placeholder or a...
Right. And to me, it's funny that, BioShock Infinite, you're Booker.
Yeah.
And yet, Elizabeth is 100 times more memorable than Booker.
Yeah.
Keep shooting your little robot, thinking it's someone. Next up is Trevor Phillips from Grand Theft Auto 5. So, we were talking before this, Donovan, about, who is Trevor Phillips to us?
Yeah.
And I think it was great what you said. You said Trevor Phillips is what... Oh gosh, this guy's jumping into the
I've never seen that before.
That's messed up. He is what our parents think we will become when we play Grand Theft Auto.
Right. It's what every parent fears when their children start playing Grand Theft Auto 5 or violent video games in general. He's just a psychopath, willing to kill and hurt and maim anyone just because he wants to.
And it's funny.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. I don't get into the whole violence for no reason thing, but seeing Trevor do some of the things he does for the reasons he does, it made me laugh.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know it shouldn't have, but that was his character.
Absolutely.
The pathetic kind of pathetic but lovable psychopath.
He's just so crazy.
He is so crazy.
Um,
Then we have Joel from The Last of Us.
so this is like, what did you say before? You said that this is Nathan Drake.
Nathan Drake with a beard and some kind of psychotic personality complex.
With like a bloodlust to him almost.
Yeah. He's a man. And also, I think you and I were kind of going back and forth about who we should nominate from The Last of Us, because there were a bunch of great characters, and it was between Ellie and Joel. And we were talking. Ellie's great, but her personality kind of stays static.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole thing. But Joel, he goes from the loving father to just a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
Willing to kill anyone. He's overly quiet. He doesn't work well with others. And it's interesting to see that character development, and then what he becomes in the end. I won't spoil it, sorry, but it's great. It's all great.
Yeah, it's fan stinking-tastic. Like we said before, this is like, I feel like The Last of Us is the game that everyone should play if they haven't ever played.
Exactly.
Whereas, last year it was Borderlands. The Last of Us is it's a memorable game, and it's because of the characters that it's so memorable.
Right. It was definitely a character-driven story instead of an action-driven or, I don't even know what else to call it. It was just focused on the characters in a way that was great and memorable.
They could have taken the zombies out of the game, and it still would have been amazing.
Yeah, it would have been pretty good.
So last, and this is going to be kind of a stretch, but bear with us.
Yes.
Is the narrator from the Stanley Parable.
Yes. Because more so than Stanley himself, the narrator is a character. He's the one who reacts to your actions. He has his own personality, what he is trying to convey in the game. There's a part where he starts even questioning who he is as a character in the game. I'll say it anyway. You probably won't know what I'm talking about, but there's a part where a narrator starts narrating the narrator, and it's great. The whole thing. Just how many lines of dialogue this man has it's crazy to think how long it took them to record the whole thing, and every bit of dialogue is done great.
Absolutely.
And he's funny, and he's charming, he's British.
What more do you need?
Yeah, you don't need much more, except if it were like Morgan Freeman. Could you imagine Morgan Freeman as the...
I think that's what I want.
Game of the year. 20 forever.
Morgan Freeman talking is the game of the year.
Christopher Walken. Anyway, so who's the winner?
So the winner is Joel.
Joel from The Last of Us.
He just... I mean... He... It just was so good.
Yeah, it was so good.
He was so good.
Yeah.
It just...
That his character arc was fantastic.
Just where he went within that game was just fantastic.
Yeah. From a loving father to a jerk. Man. Are you down? Oh, you're not down.
No.
Okay.
What do I do?
You want to do... Yes, you want to start out in the rightmost column. So... Increase status effects for now. Well, no, you could increase your whatever.
Too late.
Yeah,
you want to do the far right as well.
I do.
Go
Yeah, anarchy. Okay, reload speed.
Next one.
Anarchy. Okay, yeah, do that one first.
Stacks or something like that. I forget.
Yeah, and I need to remember not to reload.
Yep. Which is not easy to do.
No, when everything is tied to the square or X button. So yeah, here's an interesting category for us. But we did it last year.
Best film.
Best film. We're not film critics at all.
I am.
Okay, we're film critics somewhat, but we like our movies, Matt. We do, don't we?
I love my movies.
What's going on with the frame rate here? Anyway, so first up, we've got Man of Steel.
So this was really probably one of the most anticipated movies of the year, I think.
Yeah.
Up there with oh, that's your guy.
Yeah.
Up there with Dark Knight Rises last year.
Yeah.
Which was movie of the year for us, if you all remember.
Yes.
I
remember.
But this just... Oh, I have no idea. I'm just going to throw grenades. This took the Superman movies and redid them.
Yeah.
Completely.
And did them well.
And did them very well.
To put Superman in a modern setting, in a modern context, and it worked.
I mean, who's the guy that played him?
Henry Cavill?
Cavill, yes. He did a fantastic job.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And that scene where he comes out of the water and he doesn't have a shirt on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, what?
Come on. That's what Superman should look like. But then he puts on the tights and you're like, how'd he get all of them muscles under them tights?
And that's why it's Matt's favorite movie of the year.
A little bit. A little bit. I don't care. I'm comfortable saying it. It was fantastic. I mean, Amy Adams as Lois Lane.
Yeah, she was pretty good.
And
she was good.
Michael Shannon
as General Zod,
Zod.
Which was totally unexpected because he never opens his mouth when he speaks.
And then he did.
And he had
very
to yell.
widely.
Yeah, yeah. Which it worked. I liked him as Zod. I didn't think I was going to, but I liked him.
Yeah, I almost feel like he stole the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he just did such a fantastic job.
Yeah,
as Zod.
he was angry.
He was so angry.
Yeah, but I liked him.
He did very, very well compared to that one guy in that one movie.
Kevin Spacey?
No. Who played General Zod? He was
I can't remember.
Some random guy.
Yeah, he kind of looked like he belonged in the Bee Gees.
Yeah, he was almost like Alan Rickman, only without being Alan.
Yeah,
Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman as the bad guy from Die Hard. I can't remember what's his name. Anyway,
Hans.
Yeah. Funny though.
Right now, you should throw up a picture of Alan Rickman and then the guy who played General Zod.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, so next up we have Only God Forgives.
So I hadn't seen this movie prior to us doing this.
Yeah.
So what we did was we pushed back us recording this movie, or
This little video.
this video by 2 hours so I could watch it.
Yeah.
And oh man,
Yeah.
I didn't understand it at first. I
Right.
have to admit, but then we kind of hashed it out a little bit and.
It's a talking movie. It's one you have to discuss with others.
Yeah, and it's one of those movies that like if you've never seen it and you see it with friends who've never seen it, it can almost be not as good because you don't get it.
Right.
But like having not seen it and watched it with you, Donovan, I'm like, oh,
It makes sense.
it makes complete sense. You know, you said one line to me and I'm like, ah, well that makes sense.
Yeah. All it takes is that one thing, but it works.
It works so good.
But this was one of the most divisive movies of the year, I would say.
Really?
Yes. When it premiered, I can't remember what film festival it premiered at, but when it did premiere, half of the audience by the end had left, and half of the audience was giving it a standing ovation.
Really?
Yes. So it's one of those movies you're either going to absolutely love or absolutely hate. It's a slow-moving film. It's by the guy who did Drive.
Which was also slow moving, but exceptional.
Yes, but this isn't like Drive so much as it's like his other film, Valhalla Rising, which was slow, quiet, not a lot going on, but it was still captivating. And that's the same with this film. It was slow-moving, not a lot of dialogue.
I mean, there was probably
Yeah,
20 lines throughout the entire movie. I mean, I've never...
most of it's in Thai.
Yeah, you never would have thought that they would get an A-lister like Ryan Gosling to not speak.
Right.
But the director did it twice. I mean, he did it with Drive with Ryan Gosling, and then he did it. He turned around and did it again with Only God Forgives.
Exactly.
And it's almost like this is what Ryan Gosling needs to do more of. Like,
it worked.
I know he's that hunky character or whatever to most women, and he can be that. That which the next movie we talk about is gonna have that same kind of feel to it, but these movies almost expand what he can do and proves like, hey, I'm an Oscar type of actor.
Sure,
you know,
sure.
I can hang up there with the Clooneys and with the, you know, with the Freemans and the Walkens and the, you know, of the world with as far as, you know, not character acting all the time,
right?
Or not playing one character at all times, you know,
right?
And it seems like this year that more and more actors are doing that. You know, we didn't mention this we're not going to mention this on our list, but I saw a movie a few days ago called The Way, Way Back, where Steve Carell's in it, but he is like the worst possible person in the world. You know, he plays
Really?
as a guy's someone who's dating a kid's mom, and he's that stepfather figure, and he's a complete jerk the entire time. Like,
I did hear about that. Yeah.
He does it so well, and it's so good. But at the same time, you can't stand his character when he's on screen. But it's perfect.
Huh.
And I feel like this year, more and more actors are coming out of their so-called closets.
Sure.
And
Out of their
showing
shell.
and showing like they have the chops. You know.
Right. So next up.
Sorry.
So
end of
that's okay.
spiel.
That's all right. We know that this movie came out last year, but it's our show, so be quiet. We've got
Yeah.
Django Unchained.
You're on our channel. We're not on yours.
Sorry, guys. We've got Django Unchained because it was that fantastic.
And it came out like I think it came out on
Christmas, yeah.
Christmas Day. We had
Yeah.
already recorded our best of 2012.
Yeah, 2012. So we didn't get a chance to actually talk about this one, but we liked it a lot.
Oh man, it was so stinking good.
It was. I'm a sucker for westerns, spaghetti westerns, all the westerns.
Yeah, you know what my favorite movie is of all time?
Tombstone.
Yep.
Yeah, Tombstone's great. And it's a Tarantino film, and Tarantino does a lot of great things.
He like, it's weird because he takes a genre and he's like, hey, I never did that kind of genre before.
Right.
I'm gonna do that genre. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna do it with some actors that you wouldn't expect to be in that kind of genre.
Right.
And it's perfect.
Yes.
Every time.
Yes. Now
Like-
tell them what you were telling me about Jamie Foxx.
Okay, so I've never met Jamie Foxx, obviously. I've never met any actor, probably. No, never. But I can't stand Jamie Foxx. I've heard several interviews with him before, and he is, I hate to say it, he's a jerk.
Okay.
He's just, comes across as just, you know, I'm Jamie Foxx, and it's like, okay, congratulations, I'm Matt.
Right. Yeah, right.
But what Tarantino did in Django was he took someone who is probably like my least favorite actor of all time, and I loved him.
Yeah.
I loved every second of him, even from the beginning. Like, I was like, oh, I heard Jamie Foxx is in this. And then at the very beginning, when Christoph Waltz rescues him, it's just like an instant, like, I love Jamie Foxx in this movie.
Yeah. And that's all it took.
It's all it took. And I just, you know, Inglourious Bastards was a fantastic movie.
It
and it's
was.
one of those movies that you took someone who most people didn't know of Christoph Waltz at the time.
No.
And after that movie, you knew him.
Yeah, you knew who he was.
And he became this, you know, this no-name into this, like, A-list actor.
Yeah, he's good. You can't talk about Django Unchained and not mention Christoph Waltz's performance in that movie.
Yeah, it's just...
He did it so well.
He did it so stinking well.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Yeah. And then we've got Leo.
Oh,
Leonardo DiCaprio was great. But we like him.
Yeah, I've always liked Leo. As long as he's not on the front of a boat, I'm okay with him.
Yeah, saying he's on top of the world.
Yeah, but the second he gets on top of the boat, I'm like, we're done. But gosh, he was fantastic in this movie as the bad guy.
Yeah, he was.
You just,
Oh no, I reloaded. And it went down. Anyway, yeah, The part where he's, like screaming at the dinner table and he slams his hand on the table. This is Leonardo DiCaprio. He cuts his hand during the shooting, and he just went with it. He kept going.
Yeah, because that was real.
Yeah, that was real blood coming from his very real cut.
And he decided, you know what? Let's incorporate it into who I am as a character.
Yes. And it was perfect.
It was absolutely perfect.
Mm-hmm. This movie deserves a lot of praise. We love it.
Yeah.
So
last up is a movie that kind of ties into Only God Forgives in a sense. It takes a character who is the Dreamboat,
a.k.a. Josh Duhamel.
Josh Duhamel.
Duhamel. Whatever you need.
My wife makes me pronounce it correctly.
Really? It's Duhamel?
It's Duhamel.
There's that H. There, isn't there?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Anyway,
ask my wife.
He gets a mohawk.
So this movie takes Josh Duhamel and makes it where he's no longer the hunk, but he's this gritty kind of, it's just
suburbanite.
Yeah,
he's a gritty suburbanite who just kind of fed up with his life, and then.
And it also took who was that? Doug Fogel.
Brian Fogel.
Brian Fogel,
the guy from Balls of Fury, the goofy
guy, and he kind of has some goofiness to him.
Mm-hmm. But man, they both did very well in a drama that I wasn't expecting.
I wasn't expecting that either. And it's one of those movies. I mean, it's hard to talk about without spoiling it.
Right. Yeah. But basically, the premise is these two friends get. Their truck breaks down in the middle of the California desert,
right?
And then they get into an argument, and things go south from there,
right?
And I'm sorry, no words are coming out of my mouth because I don't want to spoil anything.
It was probably my least anticipated movie. Like I'd never even heard of it.
Yeah, I just saw it on Netflix.
I saw it
on Netflix, and you told me about it.
Yeah, I saw it on Netflix, and my wife was like, "Hey, this has Josh Duhamel in it," and I was like, "Okay."
Did she like it?
She loved it.
Okay, good.
She said, it was one of those, "Hey, this has Josh Duhamel in it. Let's give it a try."
Yeah.
And within the first 5 minutes, like, we didn't move.
Yeah, sure.
It was just.
It was great.
It was a great movie.
Yeah.
Going back a little, in all of these categories, we only have four options in each category, and it's the four options that kind of spoke to us the most throughout the course of the year. And with all the movies that came out, granted, we didn't see a lot of them because a lot of them come out like now
right.
during Academy season, if you will, to get, so they're fresh in the Academy's mind so they can get that award under their belt.
Right.
And we didn't see a lot of those. I haven't seen Gravity. We haven't seen 12 Years a Slave. We haven't seen Inside Llewellyn Davis.
Right. Coen Brothers.
Which, we all know is going to be fantastic films, Academy-worthy films. But this movie was one of those ones that I never saw coming, and yet I'm so glad that I saw it.
Right.
Probably more so than any other movie this year. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad that I saw this movie this year because it made that much of an impact on me. And with that said, though,
the winner
is Django Unchained. And it came out in 2012, but it was so far at the end of 2012 that it still deserves 2013 recognition.
Yes.
And it was just, I said this, and people might give me crap about it later on, but I think this was the pinnacle of Tarantino's career.
I'd say so. This is my favorite film that he's ever done.
And it's hard to say that because you look at the Pulp Fictions and the Kill Bills and
Reservoir Dogs,
the Reservoir Dogs,
Glorious Bastards. It's all good.
Yeah,
but man, westerns.
It's like he never needs he needs to never stop doing westerns again. Just like Django Unchained 2.
I've heard his next film is going to be a western. I don't know if it's going to be Django, but I've heard it's going to be a western.
It doesn't even matter. I mean, I know it'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like with Tarantino, a lot of people give him a lot of crap for some reason. Like a lot of people don't like his work for whatever reason. I don't understand it. I think everything he touches is stinking gold.
It's pretty good.
And this movie was just, like I said, it was the pinnacle. It was just so good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love strafing bully monks. I just don't know what to do.
congratulations, Django.
And congratulations, Tarantino, on like realizing, like, hey, I make some of the best movies in the world, but I can do even better.
Yeah, yeah. And then he makes a film in a genre that's underutilized these days.
Yeah, I mean, since probably the 90s, Westerns are just done.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, and that's a real shame.
So what?
We kind of like this next category.
I love this category. and, you know, this will probably be where we end up spending the majority of our time.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of cynics in a sense.
Yeah.
But this is biggest disappointment of 2013.
Yeah. So let's start at the top with Aliens Colonial Marines.
So what's funny? Okay, so what are we playing right now?
Borderlands 2,
Who made this game?
Gearbox.
Who made Alien Colonial Marines?
Gearbox and somebody else.
Yeah.
So it was like, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was this one company was developing Aliens Colonial Marines, and they were having troubles.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, Gearbox.
You know
will
what you're
help
doing.
us?
Yeah, you know what you're doing with games.
Yeah.
And Gearbox was like, "You're right. We do know what we're doing with games."
And so they came alongside and tried to help them. And Randy Pitchford was all gung-ho about Aliens Colonial Marines and how it's going to have great dynamic lighting and it's going to be super scary and it's going to take the Aliens IP and make a great game out of it. And then
How'd they do with that?
it was like you bought the retail box, you brought it home, and you opened it up, and it was just poop inside. That's what Aliens Colonial Marines was.
It was a poop sandwich.
It was a glitchy, buggy mess of a game.
It was a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. And
I mean, who is it? Is it Two Best Friends Play that
Yeah.
did a lot of stuff with Alien Colonial Marines? I mean,
quite a
you can go on YouTube and just look Alien Colonial Marines. You'll never find a serious playthrough of it.
No.
And if you do, it's still just as funny because they're trying to take the game serious, and it's impossible to do because of how terrible it is.
Right, exactly.
They took a genre that's so good.
Yeah.
With Aliens.
Beloved.
Yeah. And they turned it into a crap fest.
Yeah, a corridor shooter that's not fun and doesn't work. So there's that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I made the game.
Yeah, you and I got together and made an Alien.
No,
game.
I'm not even going to include you in this because
Okay.
you have some artistic value inside of you, Donovan. It's like
Doubt it.
I made the game.
But hey, the soundtrack would have been good if you made it.
Yeah.
Because you know music.
Do I?
Yeah, you know music.
No, I know songs.
You know songs. And notes.
Stuff.
Anyway.
Second win.
So the next up, this one, I don't know. We didn't have our hopes high enough for this one, but after 6 or 7 years or so of these games, you just kind of stop caring, and that is
Call of Duty Ghosts.
Call of Duty Ghosts.
I just
We're done.
like
I'm done, at least.
I feel like
Nice. I feel like, and that's all you have to say.
it's pissing me off. Okay.
Okay.
It's making me mad. I mean, I deserve better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I gave you $60. Mm-hmm. And you still gave me the same game from 6 years ago.
Yeah, you could go back and play Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, and it would be even better.
It would be better. That's the problem. It would be better.
These are just Call of Duty expansions. There's nothing really new about them. You get a new stupid story and maybe a few new modes.
With some dumb dog
Yeah, yeah.
that's not as good as Chop and Grand Theft Auto 5.
Right, exactly.
I mean, you want... Okay, here's real quick category. Pet of the Year. Chop from Grand
Chop.
Theft Auto 5. Done. Okay? Loser. The dog from Call of Duty Ghosts.
yeah.
It aggravates me to no end.
Alright.
Yeah. Give me something better. Here's the thing, okay? Whoops.
Give me something better, Matt.
Here's the thing, okay? Grand Theft Auto, or Battlefield 4, okay, is a buggy mess.
Yeah.
But it yet is still fun.
Uh-huh.
And yet, I mean, it's their 4th game. They kind of did the same thing, and yet it's still better.
Yeah.
I mean, if they know, how come you don't know? I'm talking to you, Infinity Ward. And what's even more irritating is that people are still going to make millions of dollars off of this game this year that didn't even make the game. We're talking YouTubers that people watch because it's COD.
Right. And I think that's the only reason why people buy the game is because it's a brand, not a good game.
I mean, it came out in what, November?
Yeah.
October, November, and the besides the story of the reviews that came out and all the content that's about to come out for it, the next story you hear is Call of Duty sold 1 million copies on day 1.
Right.
And then the next story is Call of Duty made $1 billion already this year.
Yeah.
And it just, I understand, okay? You want to play that shooter with your friends. I get that. But here's something, okay? I'm playing a shooter right now with my friend. And yeah, it's a year old, but it's still better.
We're having more fun with it.
Because I just phase locked a guy and then killed him.
Yeah, and I've got a robot running around. Enough said.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you don't have to buy the biggest and the best and the greatest and the most expensive to have fun.
Yeah.
But yet, somehow or another, Call of Duty has gotten these kids and adults alike on this Call of Duty heroin that they can't get off of.
Right.
And I know I'm on the soapbox right now. No one's making everyone uncomfortable. But you know what? I'm uncomfortable.
I'm sweating bullets over here.
With the stuff that they gave us.
Yeah. We need something new, guys. So, next up.
Sorry.
No,
how are you doing?
I'm alright.
We still friends?
Yeah, so here's going to be my soapbox, I think. So, I hate DRM and always online servers a lot. And SimCity was this year's biggest, I dislike this a whole lot.
Get off me, boy. I'm better than you.
It's one thing to pay $60 for Aliens Colonial Marines, pay $60 for Call of Duty Ghosts, but at least you can play those games.
Yeah.
But if you were to pay $60 for SimCity, within the first, if you bought it on day 1, you would be met with dozens of error messages saying that there's a problem with the server and that you would have to wait to play the game. There was so much server, because they have to be online, there was so much server traffic that they couldn't support it.
Yeah.
And that means you can't play the game.
Which is sad because they know that this is what the game's going to be.
Right.
I mean, they know what the game is, and yet they still weren't like, hey, maybe we should prepare and make a game that can handle it, make some servers that can handle it. So
do a beta, do something.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those games where it's like, how did this go through QA?
Right. And it probably went through fine because they had 2 dudes in a room and on one server,
Yep. And they were like, yeah, this game works great.
Yeah.
Ship it.
It's fine. But it's not fine. You have to make sure everything's okay. And, and they didn't learn. Diablo 3 went through the same exact problems.
Yep.
They had server issues and people couldn't play it. And yet SimCity goes ahead and does the same thing. Shame on you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those games where, you could probably play it now, but, they kind of lost our trust.
Right. There's no getting that reputation back.
It's how I still feel about the Xbox One. Yeah, you went back on all that stuff you said about, DRM and stuff.
But you tried it.
Yep, you lost my trust.
But anyway.
As we play this game on Xbox 360.
So the next up is The Walking Dead Survival Instinct. Now, the reason why we picked this one, because it features everyone's favorite redneck from the Walking Dead series.
Merle.
Yes, Merle Mixon. No, Daryl Dixon. Everyone thought that we were going to get like a really interesting zombie game with crossbows and...
Because this year, the past couple of years have been the year of the bow.
Year of the bow. We wanted that, but we didn't get it with this game because the crossbow was absolute garbage to even use. And the only good thing the game got right was the fact that if you sprint for too long, you start sweating, and the sweat attracts zombies. That's it.
Which, in and of itself, genius.
Yeah, that's neat. but then you get a game that's basically a road trip with first-person shooter elements in between.
Yeah.
And that's not cool, guys. And it's buggy, and it's not fun. So, there you go. So who's the winner?
The winner, loser.
Loser, winner. It's all.
We'll make sure to ship you a box full of crap as well.
Yeah.
Is
Just like you should have done.
yeah, is SimCity.
SimCity, because at least, like I said with all those other games, you can at least play them. But with SimCity, you couldn't play it for months. And that's awful.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
I
I paid $60 for this and I can't even play it right now. What's wrong with
And they're
that?
like, oh, what wasn't it? Wasn't it? Didn't they say, oh, it's not broken?
Yeah, it's not broken. We'll fix it, guys.
We'll fix it. And like months and months went by, and they're like, oh yeah, it's fixed.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
But we're still having problems, guys. So yeah. Soapbox done.
I like playing with this.
Yeah, she's fun. Especially when you get into the crazier, higher level stuff. It's awesome. So anyway, let's get to the big one.
Game of the year.
Game of the year.
GTO 1?
Yes.
Because it sits.
Jim Carrey from The Mask.
Yep.
First up, we've got Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons.
So we haven't put out our review, but Donovan has just finished this
As
game.
of this video, I haven't. But
Oh, okay.
hopefully I'll get the review out before the video goes up.
Right.
But we'll see.
So kind of explain this game without...
Okay, so basically, Brothers is about two sons, two brothers whose father is deathly ill, fatally ill. And if you don't make it to the Tree of Life and get its waters in time, your father will die. Now, it sounds like...
Sounds corny.
It sounds kind of corny, cliche. It is definitely not. And it also sounds like a co-op game, you have two characters, two brothers, but it's not either. It's a single-player game, and that's how they want you to play it.
Is you controlling...
You control both characters at the same time, and how you do that is one character is tied to the left stick, the other character is tied to the right stick, and you move them both at the same time.
Wow.
And you have to divide your mind in such a way that it's very difficult to do at first. But I will say, I'm not going to ruin it because it'll be in the review, but it melds gameplay and story in such a way that I have never seen before. It is the epitome of...
Which, to the point where the gameplay is the story.
It is the story, and that's what makes it great, is because the story doesn't forget that it's a game. The Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is first and foremost a game and a story at the same time.
And you mentioned a good point earlier before we started recording, where you said, a lot of times it feels like the cutscene or the story interrupts
the game. Yeah, you're having fun playing the game, and then the story cutscene happens, and you're like, man, I just want to keep playing the game. And then you've got other games that that are just story with very minimal interaction,
right?
Such as Gone Home, Dear Esther, and games like that. You're just moving forward, experiencing the story, but it's not fun. It's not a fun game to actually play.
Right.
There's nothing to do. And because of that, because Brothers melds the two things so well, it doesn't forget it's a game, it doesn't forget it's a story. That's why it's nominated for Game of the Year. So what's next?
Next is The Last of Us. So we talked about this in our action-adventure part, about how, it was just a phenomenal game.
It was
overall.
a phenomenal game.
And there's really not much more to say other than that, because it's just so stinking good.
Yeah, we've talked at length about this, but it was the most anticipated game of the year, I would say, for myself. I just loved every second.
Yep.
It was that story, that atmosphere, and those characters that appealed to me the most.
Absolutely.
So next up would be BioShock Infinite.
Yeah, this game, and we did a full run through of it at the time, and it was so good.
Mm-hmm.
So
that
good.
That story is fun. It's fun to experience over and over again to see what you may have missed the last time.
It's definitely probably it's probably the most memorable game of this year, by far.
I would say so, just for that Not Twist alone, man.
I mean, it was one of those games that, you know, when we were playing The Last of Us, it wasn't the thing where you couldn't go inside or couldn't get on the internet for a month while you're playing it, otherwise you'd get spoiled. Whereas BioShock was. You
Yeah.
couldn't go on the internet without hearing about it.
Right.
Alive, everybody!
And there's good reason behind that as well.
Yes. Very good.
And then lastly is Fire Emblem
Fire
Awakening.
Emblem Awakening. Again, I loved this game. You know, I'm not one to play a handheld game while I'm in my own home.
Right.
You know, I want to be on the go while I'm playing it. That's what it's for. But I constantly found myself going back to playing Fire Emblem Awakening while I'm sitting on my couch, laying in bed, doing whatever. And there's just so much to do. And I love all the characters. It's almost like
Raiders don't stand a chance.
I don't want to make that comparison. Let's skip that for now. But
So, winner
So the winner,
of Game of the Year, as Scooter has his intro.
yeah. You want to do a drum roll, please?
Ba 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 ba.
Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons.
Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. It just, it was so good that it, you know, with
You never did me
how it made you divide your left brain and right brain in a sense of being able to control two characters at the same time.
Yes.
It was just so innovative that it had to be considered Game of the Year.
Yes. It had interesting gameplay, an interesting story, a story and gameplay that perfectly combined to create the perfect game. It was beautiful, it was touching, it was emotional, it was gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
And it was every little bit of it just I don't know, it made you happy and sad and scared all at the same time. You experienced the full range of emotions that a human can
Yeah,
experience.
it definitely was good.
Yeah.
So guys, all of these games, with the exception of one category, are games that you should pick up or movies that you should watch.
Yes.
We hope that 2013 was as memorable for you guys as it was for us, because by golly, it was memorable.
It was.
And we hope that you guys enjoyed. Hope that you guys enjoyed this video. And if you didn't agree with us, let us know what you thought should be on there. If you agreed with us, give us a like or a dislike, or however it is that you show appreciation towards things,
Yeah.
because that's cool and all.
Yeah. So
I'm Matt,
I'm Donovan.
and this has been GLN's Best of 2013.
Yes, it has.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.